Hey, welcome to my channel. What's your damage, Samala? That is a nickname that I got from my brother-in-law, my sister, my nephews. Anyway, like her family, and it's something that's kind of stuck, and I really love it. But anyway, story time? I don't know. My plan was to do all of this in a way that was like more formal. I don't know why I use quotations because I really do mean formal. I think that there was a comment that I heard somebody use one time, and it was just regarding like videos that people post and the idea of like a talking head, which is essentially like what I'm doing. All my videos are this way, where it's like I'm looking into the camera, I'm sitting here by myself, and hoping that people can pay attention long enough to hear what I have to say. But then I realized that like I don't necessarily like care if people hear what I have to say. You know what I mean? Like the message is for the person who hears it, and I have absolutely like no bearing on that. Granted, there are algorithms and like formulas and all these things to like, yeah, if I want to have a bunch of followers, then I can do that. And sure, that would be super cool, just because this YouTube thing is so cool. And it would be awesome to be like, oh man, I have all these people in community, but it's like, if they don't like my talking head, I'm cool with that, you know what I mean? So I do want to like sit this phone down though, because that tends to be a distraction. I also want to make sure that, we've got a good angle here, but I talked about, I've since I started posting these videos, and what I have said I believe about story, and how it's like just inflated these days of like, well, there's got to be a story behind it. There's got to be a story behind it. Everybody wants to hear your story. And it's like, not necessarily, like I'm going to buy a product because the product works. And I don't really give a shit about like if you started it with your mom in a bathtub in a studio apartment. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if the product is good, it's good. And I'll spend money on it. So anyway, that's kind of like going, and I'm not like saying that I don't think it's awesome, that people can, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not discounting anybody. All I'm saying is that, my story isn't for everybody. But I mean, I think that the people who follow this channel follow me, and I don't even know what I'm doing yet. Like, there's one purpose for why I'm doing what I'm doing, and that is for release. Like, some days I honestly don't know how I manage to get through a day in this world, and it's not politically fueled. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not like one of those, I don't really know. All it is that my brain moves at the speed of light. and I see a lot of things, not just in others, but in myself. So, and I'm not tooting my own horn here either. It's just that there is a level of awareness that can be sometimes paralyzing. And so the purpose of this channel is to have this release. Like, I get to talk about, I was telling my dad today, I was like, Dad, he was like, so what? I could just get on YouTube and I can post a video? I was like, hell yes, you can. You can talk about whatever you want, You can literally talk about, I mean, sure, like there are restrictions, I'm guessing, but, I'm not expecting him to go and like post any explicit content, but It's just like, yes, you can talk about whatever you want. And almost like a vlog or like a diary. So anyway, I'm getting way off topic, but my past has all to do with who I am today. And before I start getting into like the nitty gritty about how I overcame so many things and ultimately, you know, I'm not like ultra successful, but my life is leaps, bounds. I mean, I can't really think of another measurement. You know what I mean? But my life today is drastically different than what it looked like even just 4 years ago. And that's like the sobriety thing, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I wholeheartedly not believe, but I know that if you are somebody like me and you're like, I don't know how I could ever get out of where I am right now. These things that I dream about are only dreams. Like I'm so far down that like, there's a line in a book that I read often, and I'm going to misquote it. So just to paraphrase, but it talks about how our problems pile up on us and are seemingly impossible to solve. And that was my life. Like, sorry, every day I would wake up and be like, it would be so much better if I weren't here anymore. Not better, just like, golly, I cannot take the noise in my head. I will avoid anything and anyone and everything and everyone who remind me that I'm still like alive and have to participate in this thing that we call life, which I today ultimately think is a game. You know, it whether it's like virtual reality, whatever, like it is a game. Learn the rules and play by them when you have to. Get creative when you don't. You know what I mean? So anyway, just like the context, I just wanted to give the context of like, this is where I was, this is what I did, and then here's where I am now. And while I'm still not necessarily where I want to be, you know, like I am eternally grateful that I'm not where I was. And it's not even that I'm not where I want to be. It's just like I have this thing, and many people can relate of more. Like, what do you mean this is it? There has to be more. What do you mean this is it? More. You know what I mean? I just want more. And it's not out of greed. You know, it's not out of pomp or like this idea that I deserve more than other people. It's just that I want more for myself, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, all of the things, you know, those things where I need security, and if my security is threatened, I feel fucked up. Like, just give me more and we'll be good. But so I want to keep this to like 20 minutes. I don't want to go 30 minutes on this video, but to start off, you know, I'm not going to talk too much about family. I'm just going to talk about my experience within the family. And the first thing that comes to mind, which I also won't really touch on, or I'll just mention briefly, is that like there was sexual assault, you know, as a young girl, and it wasn't violent, and it wasn't, I mean, all of it's egregious, but it wasn't violent, you know. But what it did is it brought in that awareness. I was very aware of the space that I took up in this world, and I was just very aware. So self-conscious. I was very self-conscious, and I wanted male attention, and I thought that that was love. And so I kind of grew up like that's where it started. Um, in 6th grade, my friend and I we did a report. I can't remember what class it was, but we had to look up a disease, as it was defined in wherever the diseases are defined, and do a report on it. So we chose eating disorders. Um, I was in ballet, and I started in sports, and I'd always had a weird relationship with food. A lot of that came from, I think, just like my caregivers, not necessarily my dad, but my mom. Mom, I love you. You did great. You know what I mean? But, like, but food, I can't describe how it made me feel, security. That's what I needed, and that's what it gave me. And so, eating disorder report, and then it's like, hey, I should try that out. So I started throwing up my food. So binging and purging was how I dealt from 6th grade up until like 7th grade, when I started drinking, and I figured out that the alcohol really so my bulimia was my control, and then the alcohol, which I didn't see all of it's a need for control, but the alcohol just really took me out of here, and this like totally shut down. And it worked for a good while, until it didn't, but that was way later. I wish that would have happened a lot sooner, but the consequences started very early. So I got my first DUI when I was 15. I was in rehab twice in high school. I ended up getting my GED because I was like, I was on probation too. So it's like, but I was like, I'm not going back to school after all of this, So I rehab twice. I ended up moving a lot. I was in rehab a few more times in my 20s. I got arrested a lot. I got another DUI when I was 22. I was homeless for, I think, like age 22 to about 26. I wasn't homeless for that long, but I was in a relationship with somebody who drank like the way that I did. And, and all of our money went to booze, cigarettes, and gas money. Like, that was it. And I was like, if I'm going to be homeless, I'm going to be doing that at the beach. So I was in Port Aransas, Texas for a while. But after that 4-year relationship, I ended up in the hospital with alcoholic hepatitis. And if y'all don't know what that is, it is, well, I'm not a doctor, but it's like, I'm very surprised that I didn't end up with cirrhosis, and I think the doctors were very surprised also. They were also surprised that I made it out of the hospital, because at 26, I was admitted, and they told my family, y'all need to get to Dallas. She is not going to make it. And I was in the hospital for about a month, and I had my sister take care of me at my dad's house, because I couldn't take care of myself yet. And I drank after that, after all of that, I still drank because I had this obsession, that I didn't know at the time, but that only like a higher power, for me, could remove. And, Juno, you're okay. I'm gonna go let her out. But that only a higher power could remove, right? And I was totally against the God idea. I was like, absolutely not. Thank you very much. I know everything. And I just totally shut down the idea of God. I was like, there's no way. Not to mention, I had zero self-esteem and self-worth. And the idea of asking for help or connecting with other women, like, yeah, fucking right. Like, that was not gonna happen. So, anyway, this continued. Like, I tried to get sober a few more times, hospitals, jail, rehab, like all the things. And finally, when I moved to Colorado, I had got sober in Atlanta, and I stayed sober about 2 years. And then I moved to Colorado in 2020. I had gotten in a lot of trouble in Atlanta, and so I got sober as a result of that. It's like, man, well, I better get 2 steps ahead of this judge. So, but I really wanted to be sober at that time. But there were a lot of things that I was not willing to let go of. And a lot of, like, I could do it on my own. I would do it on my own, and I would prove to all you motherfuckers that I could do it on my own. So anyway, I moved here to Colorado, and it didn't take long. About 3 months in, I was like, my life is good. Granted, at the time I was making like $1,800 a month. I was renting a room. I was driving I think the car that I got after I got my license back was a 1998, what was it, Oldsmobile 88 Royale. So essentially a couch. I was driving a couch. But my life was so good, and I could handle this. And so anyway, I started drinking again for 9 months. And then it got to this point where it was like, I've been through the financial lows, I've been through the health crisis, I've been all the things, but it was this soul level. I was a shell, I was a shell of a human being, and I could not stop drinking. And I knew I knew where to go. And so I went back, and I ended up, here I am today. That was October 12th of 2021 is my sobriety date. And I pray every day that, like, I get to keep that, but I also have to do the work in order to hold on to it. So that's my story. I don't know why. Like, I think part of the reason why I haven't done this yet is because I'm like, nobody cares, and I don't even care anymore. I used to have so much tied to my past, you know what I mean? And anytime somebody asked me about myself, like, those are the 2 things that came to mind. Like, I'm a bulimic and I'm an alcoholic, and I've tried recovery, or I'm in recovery, or, some fucking, there was nothing, no Sam, there was no essence there. It was like my identification to all of these things, these labels, these boxes, you know what I mean? The things that we tend to stick ourselves in because I don't know why, fear, shame, guilt. I always want to do quotations because, like, even though I know those terms are very important and they do mean something, it's like, geez, the words are spells thing, like the way that we talk to ourselves and about ourselves, like, I believe in the power of that shit. And so it just, like, rubs me the wrong way. But that's not me in a nutshell. That is a snapshot of where I was. And then, like, what I did, like I said, I knew where to go to get help, and I got help. And the leveling of my pride, that was what needed to happen. Like, the humility that had to be there in order for me to get sober. Like, without that, I wouldn't be here today, and for somebody who was so, had so little self-worth, I sure did have a big ego. And I think that those two, like, they just go hand in hand. The eating disorder stuff came not a lot later, a little bit later. So in 2022, whenever I would get sober, I would, I would start binging and purging. Like, it would 6 times a day. You know, I was spending like $200 a day on food sometimes, um, running up credit cards. Like, it was bad. So anyway, I ended up another program that that really helped me with that, and it's just been, you know, since then, it is the work every single day. I think I said like how, like, I would say like what it was like and then what happened. So what happened is that I just like shut the fuck up, you know, and got real teachable, and learned how to say I don't know, and learned how to say like, can you help me, and learned how to pick up the phone and ask somebody else how they're doing. And that was what was ingrained in me, you know what I mean? um, and you know, and then like really just, there's a line in a book somewhere, trying to keep all of this like real high level, but it talks about like wearing life like a loose garment, and that's something that I hold on to. But I really do try to, you know, like my life, while it is mine, it is also not mine, you know. I believe that I do cooperate with something out there that is much bigger, much smarter than I am, you know. And the whole idea of like we are consciousness like experiencing itself, I also like that idea. But that's the beauty of it too, is that like I can hold all of these beliefs, you know, and know them to be true. And it doesn't matter. And I can talk about it on here, because on here I can talk about whatever I want. Um, so just context, whenever, you know, if you're coming across this and you end up watching all 21 minutes and 57 seconds, which is soon to be more, and you're like, uh, you know, because I am gonna start like getting a little bit deeper into like what I talk about, and it's not any teaching, and it's not any philosophy, and it's not like I am reinventing the wheel. I am literally like regurgitating it. Like, it's what I did, and then what I learned about myself going through it. The only way out is through, right? Like, that's kind of the thing. And I just want people to know that like you will get through it. Like, every single thing is temporary. But I was just able to like massively shift the trajectory of my life, um, because I followed suggestions, and because I built a relationship with myself. Like, through building a relationship with something greater than me, I have come to love myself. And as a result of loving myself, like, I can say no. I can like take myself out of situations and relationships that I didn't ever want to be in the first place. I can go and get a job, you know, with confidence. I can get rejected and have all of that confidence too. Um, and I attracted a beautiful relationship into my life that's not based on surface level shit, you know. Somebody who, like, we see all these ads on like Instagram, like twin flame, and you know, really somebody who you can grow with, and it's like, that shit's true, you know. It really is. But I just didn't know that. And maybe I knew it and I was like, but not for me, you know? Um, I don't know what I'm going to title this. I feel like I could go on for hours, but I am going to go to the gym here pretty soon. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sticking around for all of this. And I hope that you can, I don't know, relate or got something out of it, or if you didn't, that you know somebody who could, and you send it to them and just feel like you're not fucking alone, you know. And that shit is hard to get help. It is so hard, you know, and not everybody does. Not everybody gets help and they end up dead, you know, or they end up killing somebody else, or, you know, and they end up in prison and their life is taken from them. And it's like, this life was like, we were given this life, or maybe we took this life. I have no idea how it worked, but like, the fact is that I have a life to live today, and I can live it, you know, however I want, as long as I'm willing to deal with the consequences, good or bad, you know. And today my life has far more better consequences, far more good, you know what I mean? My life's fucking beautiful today. And I'm so glad that I get to share it with you. And I hope to see you back here. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I hope to really be focusing on the content here, just putting some good shit out there, you know. Feel free to comment if there's something you want to talk about, and I'll see you soon.